friends, let us start today's session. We will be dealing with Chapter 9 of Economic Survey of India, Volume 1. Here, the focus is on Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. But before we jump into what is given in Economic Survey of India, we will first look at all the aspects of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Generally the things that I cover in class for PMJAY, this I will not be covering in the governance section now. When in governance we come to health and talk about various schemes, programs, we will not be covering PMJAY because we are covering it here. After this we will move on to the chapter of Economic Survey of India, which is studying the impact. PMJAY is launched in 2018. So what impact has it had in terms of providing good health facilities, in terms of providing better insurance coverage, in terms of infant mortality rate, in terms of maternal mortality rate? Economic Survey of India is doing this analysis. So let us first understand Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana program, and then we'll look at the analysis. So now, when we say, or when we talk about, just a second, health situation in India, we know that being a tropical country, being a lower middle income country, and being a country which has very high population density, India has the highest disease burden in the world. The disease burden that India has, no other country has. The loss that happens to Indian economy because of health issues does not happen to any other country. In fact, it is estimated that between 2012 and 2030, because of poor health situation, India is losing $6 trillion. India's GDP right now is around $3 trillion. So in a way, 2 years, overall output of the country is lost because of health. Health situation is this bad. Now, when we look at population, a large section of population is still poor, and thus, even if health facilities are available in private sector, they would not be able to afford it. So we, in Economic Survey of India itself, have seen that around 60-70% of the health facilities which are available in private sector, and they are of very high cost. The cost in private sector is exorbitantly high, in spite of the fact that quality may not be that high. We have covered this, that quality in private sector may not be very high, but still the cost is very high. So in government sector, facilities are not good enough or enough in quantity, and in private sector, which is providing most of the health services, the cost is very high, so a poor person suffers. And in this situation, having health insurance scheme can really be very, very beneficial. And Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is a health insurance scheme. Now, before Ayushman Bharat itself, it was not like Ayushman Bharat is the first health insurance scheme that we have. Before Ayushman Bharat, there were a few schemes. The most popular one was the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, RSBY. Under the scheme, a family was given an annual coverage of rupees 30,000. Right now in Ayushman Bharat, the annual coverage is 5 lakh rupees, but here the family was given an annual coverage of rupees 30,000. So, of your cost of your bill of up to 30,000 rupees would be reimbursed by Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. And this was available to poor families in India. Like not everyone could get access or get benefit under it. It was available to poor families, but it suffered from a number of limitations, a number of challenges, a number of problems. What are the limitations, challenges, problems that it suffered from? First of all, think 30,000 rupees. If you go to a private hospital and get admitted there for 2 days, your bill would be 30,000 rupees. So it was in no way able to serve situations like किसी का heart surgery हो रहा है या something like that. In the whole family, 30,000 rupees per annum of reimbursement was a very small amount. Most of the year, families may not be using this benefit, but एक साल उनका खर्चा 5 लाख, 10 लाख, 15 लाख हो सकता है. At that time, it was not serving the purpose. Then there were other limitations also in Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana. For example, it only covered 5 members in the family. So if a family had 8 members, not everyone was covered. So generally what used to happen, female members were not being covered under this thing. We live in a patriarchal society. बेटा ज़्यादा important है, माँ इतना important नहीं है. So working member, male child would be covered, females would not be covered, or elderly would not be covered. This problem was occurring. Then there was a lot of cases of corruption and fraud. So a system of fake bills were developed by hospitals where people will get fake bills from the hospital and will get the money reimbursed. A part of it will go to the hospital, a part of it will go to the contractor or people who are involved in this fraud. This made the cost of Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana exorbitantly high for government. Then there were other issues like poor regulation, poor infrastructure in public sector, regulation as such in the implementation of the scheme, but also in terms of the quality of services which were available in private sector, and then poor infrastructure in the sense when we are talking about providing insurance. Insurance would be beneficial if when I'm sick, I'm able to go to a hospital. But if good quality hospital is not available in the nearby area, even if I'm covered under Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, it will not serve any purpose. So most of the peri-urban areas, rural areas did not have good enough infrastructure, and Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana in itself did not motivate private sectors to establish their centers in rural areas. Why would it not motivate? Because anyways the coverage is only 30,000 rupees. If you go to Gangaram Hospital or BL Kapoor Hospital, अगर आप वहाँ 5-10 दिन किसी भी कारण से रह गए ना तो 1 lakh से कम बिल नहीं आएगा. When my father had got COVID, we paid between 15 to 20 lakh rupees in 2 months. He like after becoming COVID positive, he had to be kept in ICU because of lung issue and everything. We had to pay this much. So this much money, if a person would not be able to pay and the coverage is only 30,000 rupees, a private sector person will not go and establish a hospital in rural area because उसको पैसे देने वाले लोग नहीं मिल रहे, because they will not be able to get enough money. So all these problems were there, because of which Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana had become useless. There were other schemes at the state government level which also had this kind of limitations like inadequate coverage, corruption and all those things. So to deal with the problems which exist here and to deal with the problem which exists here and to improve the coverage, improve the quality of health services in the country, government in 2018 launched an umbrella scheme called Ayushman Bharat. अभी हम आएंगे प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना पे आएंगे. An umbrella program called Ayushman Bharat. Under Ayushman Bharat, there were 2 components. First component was about establishing health and wellness centers. Idea behind health and wellness centers was in rural areas, establish this health and wellness centers which will have doctors and all these people to provide primary health care, to improve the coverage of primary health care. So let me Ayushman Bharat. It was an umbrella initiative under which first component that we have was of health and wellness center, and the second component that we have is of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. What was the idea behind health and wellness centers? Primary health services should be available to everyone. In rural areas, around lakhs of these health and wellness centers would be established throughout the country. The existing centers would be refurbished, improved, and better facilities should be available. But for secondary and tertiary care, government is not talking about establishing centers which will provide secondary and tertiary care. Government is providing insurance coverage to almost 50 crore people or more than 10 crore families. For secondary and tertiary thing, you can go and get treated in a government hospital or in a private sector hospital. You will not have to worry about cost. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is the health insurance scheme which will cover the cost. So today's focus is this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Fine. Did you understand? Ayushman Bharat. कई बार we write it Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana because it is one of the components of Ayushman Bharat. Fine? Okay. Now, some factual things for preliminary examination. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana comes under which ministry? Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. It's an entitlement based scheme. What is meant by entitlement based scheme? Anyone?
Only those who are entitled for certain criteria.
Entitlement based scheme basically means that you do not have to go and register under the scheme. It means that people who would be covered under this are already entitled for it. In the sense, government will prepare a list of people based on the census data, socio-economic caste census data, and those are the people who are entitled to get this coverage. You do not have to go and apply for register for this scheme, register for this initiative, and so on. You will not have to go and get a ration card prepared. जैसे आपको अगर पीडीएस स्कीम के अंदर बेनिफिट लेना है तो आपको राशन कार्ड बनवाना पड़ता है ना. Those kind of things would not. This is an entitlement based scheme. Okay, then we'll come to that. जब आप जा रहे हो हेल्थ बेनिफिट लेने तब, और दूसरी चीजें यहाँ पे आपको लिस्ट इज प्रोवाइडेड बाय स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, उनको कार्ड दिया जाता है. ऑलरेडी लिस्ट प्रोवाइड किया गया है एंड देन उनको कार्ड दिया जा रहा है. अंतर समझे? तो लिस्ट इज ऑलरेडी फाइनलाइज्ड. वो लिस्ट इज नॉट बेस्ड ऑन पीपल गोइंग एंड अप्लाइंग फॉर द कार्ड. List is based on socio-economic caste census data. Fine. So it's an entitlement based scheme. It provides health insurance cover of 5 lakh rupees per family. From 30,000, we have increased it to 5 lakh rupees, and it covers almost more than 10 crore families, or around 50 crore of the population, for secondary and tertiary care. Primary care, who will take care of? Health and wellness centers would be taking care of primary care. Then there is no cap on the size of the family. Can you compare it with Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana? वहां पे cap था 5, तो which led to elderly or women not being covered under the scheme, or age. There is no cap on the age also. Even a 80-year-old person, 90-year-old person is covered under it. Further, it covers pre-existing conditions as well. Like today, I may be having cancer, and if government includes me in the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana tomorrow, generally health insurance, private health insurance do not cover pre-existing ailments. They would say disease आपको पहले से था, this would not be covered under health insurance, but under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, even this would be covered. So even if I have cancer from before, if I am starting to get benefit of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, this cancer treatment would also be covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Then there are some basic things like it is world's largest government funded health insurance scheme. Then eligible families, how eligible families are decided? They are decided based on socio-economic caste census data of 2011. Census जो हो रहा है, after the 2021 census, we will see that the eligibility will become based on the 2021 census, because that will be the latest data. But right now, eligible families based on this data is decided. People who are poor, deprived, and are from rural families, they will be covered. People who are poor, people who are deprived, people who are from rural families, based on SCCC caste census data. Then from urban areas, certain category of workers like rickshaw pullers and some categories of workers have been identified who would be covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So roughly 8 crore families from rural areas and 2.33 crore families. एक फैमिली में roughly 5 लोग मानो तो around 40 crore people from rural areas and around 12 crore people from urban areas are going to be covered under this scheme. Other than this, some of the people under who are getting benefit under Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, RSBY, based on SECC data, they may not be eligible. Under the scheme, all those people who are getting benefit under Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana will also be covered by default. Whether they are whether they are coming under this category or not does not matter. If you are getting benefit under RSBY, you are not going to be at loss. Okay, then the scheme is cashless and paperless. Understand this, you do not have to go to the hospital with a set of document कि देखो मेरे पास ये परमिशन है और I have this health insurance का detail. So it's a cashless, please understand, in insurance, cashless, the initiative becomes cashless when you have to get admitted. So if you're getting admitted in the hospital, then you will not have to pay any cash, but if you're getting normal treatment, you may have to pay something that you can get reimbursed later. Those kind of things may also be there. So cashless and paperless, eligible people can avail the benefit to through both government hospitals as well as hospitals which are listed under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. In case of hospitalization, they don't need to pay anything at all. In other situation, they may have to pay something which they would get reimbursed. It's a centrally sponsored scheme. Centrally sponsored scheme means it's a scheme. No. See, there's this big problem in understanding the basic fundamental behind centrally sectored scheme and centrally sponsored scheme. It's not about the money that is being contributed, that in central sector scheme 100% money would be contributed by center, and in centrally sponsored scheme some part of the money would be contributed by center and some part of the money would be contributed by state. That happens, but the difference between central sector and centrally sponsored scheme is central sector scheme would be in the area which is in union list, whose responsibility is with central government. सारा पैसा वही देंगे ना फिर. Centrally sponsored schemes would be in the areas which are in state list. Health कहाँ आता है? Concurrent है उसमें आता है state में, तो responsibility state की भी है. वहां पे center is sponsoring that scheme. A part of money is being paid by center. Understood the difference? Whenever I ask this question, people generally वो पैसे वाली बात कर देते हैं. क्यों पैसा करती? Understand the fundamentals. It is the sector based on which this division is there. Fine. So it's a centrally sponsored scheme. A part of the money is paid by center. 60% of the cost would be paid by center, 40% by state. Now it's a portable scheme. Portable scheme in the sense you were covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana in the state of Bihar. You have migrated to Delhi. You would get benefits even in Delhi. The scheme is portable in that sense. Okay, then it is subsuming two different schemes. Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, RSBY, and Senior Citizen Health Insurance Scheme. So Senior Citizen Health Insurance Scheme was a scheme specifically for elderlies. The idea about the scheme was that elderlies are generally not covered by insurance companies. Elderlies ka cost of insurance is generally higher, so for them a special scheme should be there. But now we have seen that there is no age limit in Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, so all the elderlies are also part of all the senior citizens who would be eligible are also part of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So these two schemes are done away with. Aadhaar is not mandatory. So when you go to a hospital and you would say that मुझे treatment चाहिए under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, you have to show some identity document to for them to verify that you are being covered under this initiative, you are being covered under the scheme, but Aadhaar is not mandatory as such. A dedicated PM Jan Arogya Yojana family identification number. यहाँ पे मैं किसी document card की बात नहीं कर रहा हूँ. A family identification number would be provided. You'll go to the hospital and you'll say that this is my PMJAY identification number, and then you'll give some document to show that it's अच्छा आप वही family हो. They'll verify it and you will be admitted and your process would be started. Additionally, e-card can also be given. E-card in the sense soft copy के form में you may be given card, तो paperless and cashless. तो paperless वाला फंडा समझो. Okay, now another dimension about Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana is that it follows a very federal process and it's giving a lot of flexibility to states. Now, what is meant by it following a very federal process and it's giving flexibility to states? इसे ऐसे समझो. First of all, let's understand how insurance system work. Health insurance कैसे काम कर रहा होगा इसे समझते हैं. तो generally health insurance companies, they do what? Let's say they take 1,000 rupees. Like, let's say all of us, 4 of you and 1 me, 5 of us are getting insurance from a health company, health insurance company. So health insurance company would do this. It will annually charge 1,000 rupees from each one of us. It will annually collect 5,000 rupees, and that it knows that on an average, one person would be falling sick. Yeah, one family would be falling sick. 500 cover किया है, and the cost is around 4,500 on an average. So they'll have to pay on an average 4,500 rupees every year. So the difference amount 500 rupees would be the profit of the insurance company. What was the advantage that we got? We got this advantage that I did not have to worry about a big cost of 5,000 rupees or 4,500 rupees because it was taken care of by insurance company. But I paid for it, for the insurance, in a small amount. This is how insurance system works, right? Generally this number is very large. So generally what happens is, जैसे ये 1,000 rupees देने वाले 100 लोग होंगे, there would be 100 people who will be giving this 1,000 rupees, and perhaps 2% of the people would be getting benefit. But this 2%, the cost of this would be a bit higher, 50,000 rupees or 70,000 rupees. So the annual premium that the insurance company covers and the cost that it has to bear, the difference between this is the profit that insurance company is making. It is collecting the annual premium and difference for. Now, what will be the cost of, what will they be charging as annual premium? The annual premium would be based on their analysis of how much of the cost that will have to eventually bear, how much of insurance claim that we'll have to pay. If in the first year they realize, oh, we collected only 1 lakh rupees, but we ended up paying 1,50,000 rupees. So next year they'll increase the premium amount. You understand this? This is how health insurance or any kind of insurance functions. Now, we are saying that states have been provided flexibility under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. What is this flexibility that we are talking about? This flexibility is basically, how do you want this Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya health insurance scheme to be implemented? Do you want to take some insurance company, or do you want to create a trust? If insurance company ki jagah, government can create a trust where all the money which is to be paid to insurance company can be given to the trust, and then whenever the cost comes of the people who are claiming insurance, that money can be paid from the trust. That is another way in which it can happen. Right? Please understand. One was 4 of you and I going for an insurance company. Another is we collect some money and put it in our trust. And जब भी health की उसकी जरूरत होगी, we will use that money. Whenever a health emergency would come, we will use the money. That is the trust mechanism. State government can choose some private company. State government can create its own health insurance company, or state government can create a trust. This flexibility has been provided to the state government. Though it's a centrally sponsored scheme, state can decide how the things would be implemented. Flexibility to the state. बात समझ में आ गई? You have also understood how the health insurance system or any kind of insurance system functions. Now see, in this situation, if a lot of fraud bills are being created, what would this lead to? This will lead to everyone paying extra premium. Because if the health insurance company realizes that every year they have to pay more and more insurance claims, it means we'll have to increase the annual premium amount in order to compensate for that more and more thing. Fine. How is insurance system working? You have understood this? Okay. So here you'll see they can either use existing trust and society. Some states had existing trust and society using which they were providing health insurance, state level health insurance scheme. They can set up new trust and society to implement the scheme, or they can choose insurance company. State can use an insurance company to implement the scheme, which can be or they can use existing or new trust. So this flexibility is available to the state how they want to implement it. Then central government ने एक body भी बनाई है, National Health Agency (NHA), which is the apex decision making body, apex implementation body. So this is the body which is responsible for implementation of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. It is this body which has launched merapmjay.gov.in, the website. Then it has also launched this helpline number 14555 for people to get their grievances resolved. Like suppose I go to a hospital and the hospital person say that, see, you are not in the list, we cannot provide you this service. They can call on this number to get their grievance resolved. Ki I am this person, I live in this village, I am covered under PMJAY, but my family identification number is this, but still I'm not getting, this hospital is not serving me. So grievance redressal mechanism is also available. Then every empaneled hospital, be it government hospital or a private sector hospital which has been empaneled for Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, will be having a Ayushman Mitra help desk, where I can go and get my issues resolved, doubts resolved. This scheme, learning from the Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, is also focusing on fraud detection and data privacy. So there are various IT mechanisms are available. There are various fraud cells being created which would look after fake bills and misuse of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana for corrupt purposes. Then ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेसल के बारे में हमने बात करी ही थी. ग्रीवेंस रिड्रेसल में there is a well defined 3-tier system. Some committees would be formed. Use of electronic and mobile platforms would be used for grievance redressal, and then there's a all India helpline as well as social media platforms, Twitter, etc., where you can put in your grievances. Okay, so this is Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana overall. Now, because it's a centrally sponsored scheme, some states have to contribute. States have to contribute 40% of the cost. Some states can say we do not want to contribute, and they can stay out of this scheme. They can stay out of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. For example, Delhi. Delhi is a union territory. Delhi has stayed out of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Now, why would Delhi stay out of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana? Can anyone give a reason? Delhi क्यों अपने आप को प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना का पार्ट नहीं बनाना चाहता when center would have paid 60% of the cost for the insurance scheme?
पहले से कोई existing scheme होगा.
Delhi government says that they have a much better scheme. Delhi government says that you are providing a scheme where only this many people are being covered and only this much of cost is being covered. We have a scheme where every resident of Delhi is getting all facilities, all health facilities free of cost. So your scheme is less efficient. That's what they say. It's not covering everyone. This is what Delhi government claims. Center criticizes it by saying that आपने इतना अच्छा स्कीम इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किया. Delhi is saying कि वो स्कीम इम्प्लीमेंट करके हम बहुत सारे लोगों को एक्सक्लूड कर देते. Because the country's population is 130 crore, if only 50 crore people are being covered, 80 crore people are not being covered. So that ratio may be valid in Delhi also. In urban area, we will see only 2 crore families are being covered. in the overall country. So not everyone would be covered under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Delhi government says that we have made health free for everyone. Even for outsiders. Outsiders can come to Delhi government hospital and get all the treatment free of cost. A comment had come by Arvind Kejriwal government a few years back where they had said that एक आदमी 500 रुपए ट्रेन का खर्चा देके बिहार से यहाँ आता है और 5 लाख का ट्रीटमेंट फ्री में लेके जाता है. Because it's available free of cost. I've seen people like some of my friends from Haryana bringing their parents to hospitals in Delhi and getting treatment free of cost. That is one reason, which is a good one. But there are other factors also. There is a political angle involved. Some states like West Bengal, it has not implemented the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. In spite of not having a very effective health facility, health insurance program, it has not implemented it because one, it says that it doesn't want to contribute, but more importantly, the scheme is just a popular measure to promote central government's thing. That's what they do. So some states, you see, West Bengal, Odisha, Telangana, Delhi, etc. have not implemented this scheme. They have their own schemes, programs, based on which it is functioning. So these are non-PMJAY, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana schemes. Okay, now advantages and benefits of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. One is it has ensured that tertiary health facilities, जहाँ पे किसी की cardiac surgery हो रही है, that's a tertiary health facility. See, primary, secondary, tertiary. Tertiary health facilities are those surgical, complicated surgical things which are available in super specialty hospitals. जिसके लिए आपको राम मनोहर लोहिया या फिर BL कपूर या फिर गंगाराम इन hospitals में आना पड़ेगा. It has ensured that these tertiary health facilities are available to masses. People who could not afford, theoretically at least, when we cover 10 crore poor families of the country, theoretically, if the scheme is implemented as per what it is claiming to be, it would ensure that those things, those facilities which were not available to poor people earlier would be available. The idea is really amazing. Second, it has better coverage than previous schemes. It has better coverage because it's covering more number of people, plus it reduces out-of-pocket expenditure. We have already seen that in India, a large percentage of expense was out of pocket. Even now, Economic Survey of India ने analysis करके दिया था, तो that will reduce, out-of-pocket expenditure will reduce with increased penetration of in the health sector, in the health insurance. Then it will also improve health services. Health services would improve by a number, because of a number of factors. Here they are not trying to, a government has not tried to do this, that health services कम cost में available हो. What government has tried to do is, BL कपूर का अपना कॉस्ट हो सकता है एक पर्टिकुलर फैसिलिटी को, एक पर्टिकुलर ट्रीटमेंट प्रोवाइड करने का. We will provide that cost. The a person who earlier could not get treated in BL Kapoor Hospital can now get treated in BL Kapoor Hospital. Cost would be borne by the government. Then, because इतने सारे लोग covered है, scale जब reach होगा, the cost of insurance should also go down. Because there would be more competition, more companies would try to provide benefits under the scheme. Then it also helps in developing private infrastructure, private healthcare infrastructure. Why? How would it help in developing private healthcare infrastructure? Earlier, a private player was not ready to go to tier 2 city. A big private player was not ready to go to tier 2 city or tier 3 city. Who will pay the excessive cost that we charge? But now they would go, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana would pay the excessive cost that we charge. So they will be providing super specialty facility. That is the idea in rural areas or in at least tier 2, tier 3 cities. Because for them cost can be taken care of by the scheme even if people do not have a lot of money to spend. Then it is promoting cooperative federalism. You understand how cooperative federalism is being promoted? Cooperation with the state government. Then under the scheme, there's also a special focus on frauds so that the problems which happened in RSBY is not happening. Some challenges are also there. For example, abhi bhi making private sector participate is a challenge. Now, though we have said that the cost would be borne by government, but government ने cost fix भी किया है. For this procedure, this is the cost. For this procedure, this is the cost. For this procedure, this is the cost. And private sector have been reluctant to be part of it. Second, in smaller towns, we were saying that this initiative, this scheme will lead to better infrastructure. But even now, the quality of healthcare is not good enough. With time, with more penetration of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, maybe the ideal situation where better health facilities would be provided in small areas by private sector may be possible. But right now, even right now, if you go to small towns in India, it would be very difficult to get good health facilities. And government का situation आपको पता है. See, again, when my father had got COVID-19, no, we quickly wanted to move him to Delhi because otherwise वो नहीं करते हम तो राजस्थान गवर्नमेंट के गवर्नमेंट हॉस्पिटल्स में उन्हें ले जाके रख दिया जाता जहां पे you know what was the situation there. So someone who needed ICU support for 2 months, for him it would have been very, very troublesome. तो ये वाली बात हम बोल रहे हैं. गवर्नमेंट फैसिलिटीज जो टीयर 2 सिटीज में खराब है, प्राइवेट सेक्टर फैसिलिटीज अवेलेबल नहीं है. फंडिंग एंड फाइनेंसिंग, once 50 crore people are actually covered, and even if let's say 10 crore families are actually covered, and even if 5% of the families are needing it, 20 साल में एक बार तो बड़ा खर्चा होता है ना एक फैमिली का, 20 साल में एक बार बड़ा खर्चा होगा हेल्थ पे, तो इवन इफ 5% ऑफ द फैमिली, 10 करोड़ का 5% कितना होगा? 50 लाख. 50 lakh families require 5 lakh rupees of expenses. Assuming that remaining 95% families are not requiring it. 50 lakh families into 5 lakh rupees. 5 lakh, 50 lakh, 5 crore, 50 crore, 500 crore, 5,000 crore, 50,000 crore. 50,000, around 2.5 lakh crore ka expense. If the scheme is honestly implemented. Did you get the idea? I'll again try to explain you this in a simple form. We are saying that we are covering 10 crore families. Every year, let's say, only 5% of the family require the 5 lakh rupees of coverage. So 5% of this will, 10 crore. 5% of 10 crore would be what? 50 lakh? 50 lakh is 5 into 10 raised to 6. Requiring 5 lakh rupees, 5 into 10 raised to 5. This is 5 lakh rupees. 25 into 10 raised to 11. This is the, if the scheme starts getting implemented. So 25, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. अराउंड कितना हो गया टोटल? ये 1000 million billion 2.5 trillion rupees. This will be the cost. So where would this money come from is also a issue, is also a concern. Now I may have gone by a very random figure ki only 5% of the families would require it. In reality, less number of families may require it, require the whole 5 lakh rupees, but every family may need 30, 40, 50,000 rupees of health expenses every year. So all those things could be there, but this tells you this much rupee we would be requiring every year, and with inflation it would go up. So even now not everyone is being covered, though documents, family identification number and cards and all those things are being given to a lot of people, but you know, reality of implementation of scheme in India, not everyone gets covered. that once it's actually, it's an amazing scheme. The idea behind scheme is perfect. Implementation would really be a challenge. We live in a country जहां पे कौन सा था वो कौन सा इनिशिएटिव, प्रधानमंत्री वो घर वाला कौन सा इनिशिएटिव है जो एक औरत की फोटो डाल दी गई है बड़ा सा, उसको आवास योजना. Like the government claims that they have given lakhs of houses and they did not find one person to put, right person to put the photo. They may have given it, but that shows implementation में things कितना खराब है. मतलब a pic where Prime Minister's pic is going with a woman's pic and she hasn't got the benefit. तो implementation कितना बड़ा issue है इंडिया में. And the reality is on that scheme, when if the government claims that हमने 25 लाख घर दिए हैं, government is also claiming that we have spent this much money. That money has already been spent. Why implementation, corruption, all these things are problematic? It's not about this government or previous government. The India's governance structure as such is flawed. It's not only about politicians, it's also about bureaucrats, which you people want to become. So this is an amazing initiative, but कोई बैठ के analyze करेगा कितने पैसे लगने हैं, वो कहां से आएगा, तो challenge हो जाता है. At implementation level, perhaps bureaucrats think that अरे धीरे धीरे extend करेंगे, something like that. But in reality, implementation एक challenge रह जाता है. Come to this. So you understood this funding and financing of this would be a challenge. Exact numbers, exact figures can be given by government data. I've given you a rough analysis. Then human resource. Doctor population ratio in India is very poor. We have already seen that WHO के हिसाब से जो number होने चाहिए 23 per 10,000 people, which is the lowest wala band. We are on that side, but that also only in some states. In most of the states in India, we do not even have 23 doctors. नहीं बोल रहा हूँ मैं, 23 health workers. उसमें doctors and सब लोग involved हैं. We do not have that. We've already covered that in Economic Survey of India. So you will provide insurance coverage, but who will treat them? We do not have enough number of doctors, we do not have enough number of health facilities. So the scheme would be successful if we also focus on this. Then regulation in private sector, we have already talked about it. The quality of service is poor. We measured it on the basis of number of unplanned readmissions. Economic Survey of India had done this analysis and the cost is much higher. So some challenges still remain. Okay, now what is Economic Survey of India doing? Economic Survey of India is analyzing what positive impact has Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana have had, what positive impact has the scheme had on the health sector of the country. It has done this analysis in two ways. One, by covering various health indicators by measuring various health indicators among states which adopted Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana and states which did not adopt Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. It has specifically taken example of West Bengal. There was state of West Bengal and then there are neighboring states. Bihar. Does West Bengal touch Bihar? Yes. Assam. West Bengal का neighboring state है Assam and Sikkim. So by looking at numbers of Bihar, Assam and Sikkim and comparing it with the numbers of West Bengal, it has tried to show that Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana implement करना चाहिए सबको. It will have positive impact. Okay, so what is it saying? What is Economic Survey of India saying? It says that distribution is long-tailed one, like distribution of claims. There must be an image. Yeah. This is the distribution of claims under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Number of claims and the money that is associated with that claim. कितना cost है. So we would see that most of the claims are in this 10,000, 20,000 rupees range. I'm going to hospital, I'm getting some treatment, then 10, 15,000 rupees का bill आ रहा है. I'm going to प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना for reimbursement, or it is being done free of cost in the hospital. It has a long tail, meaning that when the cost is becoming higher and higher, less and less number of people are taking benefit of that. Because we do not need complicated surgery throughout our life. We may need a treatment which is costing 10,000 rupees every year. But you will not need a cancer ka surgery or a heart transplant every year. That's why that number is like long tail का मतलब क्या रहा है distribution में. So here you'll see that around 20 lakh people had taken a reimbursement of around 15,000 rupees. But as you increase this thing, the numbers decrease drastically. Okay, one, it is saying that. Two, general medicine, sorry. PMJAY is being used significantly for high frequency, low cost care such as dialysis. Dialysis, you know, उसमें blood purification, मतलब when kidney doesn't work, dialysis is done to ensure that your blood purification is done regularly, so that kidney अगर अपना रोल प्ले भी नहीं कर रहा है, you are able to survive. So this needs to be done every 15 days or every 1 month. किसी को पता है एग्जैक्ट कितने दिनों बाद करना होता है? 10 to 12 डेज में ना, 10 to 12 डेज में आपको डायलिसिस करना होता है. मेरे ख्याल से 15 डेज मेरे को लगता है, तो 15 डेज में डायलिसिस करना होता है. तो दैट इज अ रेगुलर एक्सपेंस. तो यू सी it is being used significantly for high frequency, low cost care such as dialysis. And this did not stop even in COVID-19 situation. Even in COVID-19, people who needed dialysis, people needed dialysis. So number of dialysis cases being claimed under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana did not go down. Then general medicine has, here you will see overall cost, overall number of claims. So general medicine has been the overwhelmingly major clinical specialty used since 2018. General medicine is followed by general surgery, obstetrics and gynecology. These are the areas where Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has been used the most. Claims of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has been used the most. General medicine, नॉर्मल मेडिसिन जो आप ले रहे होते हैं, देन जनरल सर्जरी, नॉट सम स्पेशलाइज्ड सर्जरी, ऑब्स्टेट्रिक्स इज एसोसिएटेड विद चाइल्ड केयर. ऑब्स्टेट्रिशियंस वो होते हैं जो बच्चों का ध्यान रखते हैं, बच्चों वाले डॉक्टर होते हैं. हाँ, पीडियाट्रिशियन, ऑब्स्टेट्रिशियन क्या होते हैं? कोई देखो एक बार. हाँ, बच्चों के लिए होता है ना ऑब्स्टेट्रिक्स. फिर हाँ, ठीक है.
बच्चों के लिए पीडियाट्रिशियन रहता है, बट पोस्ट एंटीनेटल केयर.
अच्छा, मतलब बच्चा पैदा होने के बाद उसमें, ठीक है. तो ऑब्स्टेट्रिशियन एंड गायनेकोलॉजी, दीज आर द मेजर एरियाज व्हिच आर बीइंग यूज्ड. नाउ जनरल केयर सीकिंग अंडर प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना saw a V-shaped curve during COVID-19. What I mean is, number of people who were seeking claims under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana declined drastically during COVID-19, and then it increased. Later, it has come back to the normal level by December, January. But here, a major decline took place. See, March से May के बीच में V-shaped recovery had taken place. Why was this so? Both because of demand and supply side issues. पहले तो supply side की बात करते हैं. In hospitals throughout the country, major focus was on COVID-19. So a lot of other treatments were ignored, enough services were not available for them, but there was demand side constraint also. People were not going to hospitals because they were worried. Unless the surgery was something very necessary, they would delay it because there was a risk of catching COVID-19. Private hospitals, they had closed. जो अनलेस बड़े हॉस्पिटल्स थे, छोटे प्राइवेट हॉस्पिटल्स ने अपने आप को बंद कर लिया. हमें चला रहे नहीं है कोविड-19 के टाइम. So because of this V-shaped recovery is being talked about. During COVID-19, this V-shaped thing had happened. Then status and progress so far under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. कुछ numbers हैं, जैसे 32 states and union territories are implementing the scheme. 13.48 crore e-cards have been issued. Treatment worth INR 7490 have been provided. और अच्छा INR 7. नहीं, this number is wrong. Treatment worth INR 7490 crores होना चाहिए, या कुछ वैसा नंबर होना चाहिए. Not only this thing have been provided. 24,000 hospitals have been empaneled under this initiative, and 1.5 crore people have registered on the scheme's website. प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना के वेबसाइट में भी people are going and registering. Then because of COVID-19, we already said there was a steep fall in normal things, but dialysis kind of cases, they continued. This, you'll see number of claims under dialysis, it did not go down. It did not see a V-shaped thing, because a person would die if that person doesn't get the service. So it continued, but in normal overall general medicine saw a steep decline. Then overall impact of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. This is the important thing for us. हमें मेंस के लिए भी, बाकी चीजों के लिए भी ये समझना होगा कि ओवरऑल प्रधानमंत्री जन आरोग्य योजना का क्या इम्पैक्ट रहा है. Now, states which are Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana states and states which are non-Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana states, Economic Survey of India has done analysis of this thing. It is doing this analysis based on National Family Health Survey 4 and 5. National Family Health Survey 4 came in 2016. National Family Health Survey 5 came in 2020. The scheme was launched in 2018. तो जो डिफरेंस है नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे 4 और नेशनल फैमिली हेल्थ सर्वे 5, उन दोनों के डिफरेंसेस को स्टडी करके इन डिफरेंट स्टेट्स इट्स कमिंग अप विद दिस नंबर. इट्स सेइंग दैट proportion of household which have health insurance, it has increased by 54% in PMJAY states and it has decreased by 10% in non-PMJAY states. Proportion of household which has health insurance. Now, Economic Survey of India has not, by reading the chapter, I have not got the clarity whether, like, if you're in Delhi, is there a health insurance scheme जिसके अंदर आपको officially डाला गया है, or you're getting the facility free of cost? So in a way, that is also covered under health insurance scheme. So whether this number is considering this factor or not, I'm not sure. But हमारे आंसर्स के लिए, मेंस के आंसर्स के लिए, according to Economic Survey of India, the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has seen increase in the coverage of health insurance families by 54%, and in non-health insurance, non-Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, it has declined by -10%. Right? But I have added a question here, whether this is the issue has been done there or not. Then change in proportion of infant mortality. It has reduced by, infant mortality is reducing होना चाहिए. It has reduced by 20% in PMJAY states. It has reduced by -12% in non-PM. So in non-PMJAY states, reduction of infant mortality is lesser. Then under 5 mortality rate, it has reduced more in PMJAY states. Spacing between consecutive kids, it has improved better in PMJAY states. So these indicators show that PMJAY has had positive impact. Now, various metrics for mother and child care have also improved in states which had PMJAY when compared to non-PMJAY. This analysis for PMJAY states and non-PMJAY states was also visible when West Bengal was compared with the neighboring states which implemented this data. Now, again, I'm not very sure why Economic Survey of India has taken example of West Bengal and not of Delhi. Delhi is a non-PMJAY state. Uttar Pradesh Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan could have been PMJAY states. They could have compared it in this way, but they have compared West Bengal with its neighboring states. And there they are saying that the percentage of household having health insurance has increased by 89% in Bihar, Assam and Sikkim, but it decreased by 12% in West Bengal. IMR has reduced by minus 28% in these states. It has reduced by minus 20% in West Bengal. Under 5 mortality rate has reduced by minus 27% in Bihar, Assam and Sikkim. It has reduced by minus 20% in West Bengal. So, modern method of contraception, female sterilization, pill usage. This is also an indication of the quality of health facilities that you have. It has increased by 36% in Bihar, 22% in Assam, 28% in Sikkim, but it has had negligible change in West Bengal. So all these things indicate that Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana will be effective, will be more effective. Okay, so therefore, it's recommending that Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana implement hona chahiye. Now, some of this outcomes stemmed directly from the initiative, the schemes, program, the benefits which are available under Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. That is, you can take your infant child to the nearby hospital and आपका treatment free of cost हो जाएगा. And that's why infant mortality rate or maternal mortality rate or those things could have reduced. This could be one of the factors. But there are certain things which have occurred indirectly because of Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. For example, awareness or knowledge related to things like HIV and AIDS. It has also increased in Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana states. So, overall, the comparison shows that there is a significant improvement in several health outcomes in states that have implemented Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana has had positive impact on health outcomes, thus underscoring the potential of the program to significantly alter the health landscape in the country, especially for vulnerable sections, especially for weaker sections. Okay, so the second part है ना जिसमें outcome comparison ये हो रहा है. This is given in Economic Survey of India, but before doing this I wanted to cover the first part. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, what is the scheme, what is the initiative? Okay, and by the way, by a small mistake, I have I've left one topic. The topic was not mentioned in Economic Survey of India, but there was a scheme which was launched in January. Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, Sehat. This was launched in Jammu and Kashmir, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, in December 2020. So, under PMJAY in Jammu and Kashmir, around 5-6 lakh families were covered. Under PMJAY. Under PMJAY Sehat, they have covered all families. All the families of in rest of the country, only selected families have been covered under PMJAY. Under PMJAY Sehat, launched in December 2020, all the families of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir have been covered by the health insurance initiative. So I'll cover it. I'll cover PMJAY Sehat in future classes, but just for the sake of completion, I should have added it here. गलती से छूट गया मुझसे. Okay, so this was it. This was chapter 9. I'll see you again in chapter 10. Okay.